In my time as a scientist studying the mind, I was always looking for things that I could do to optimize my mind, my performance, my life. I was always looking for things that gave, for a small amount of effort, an enormous return. This is kind of the holy grail of self improvement, right? If you can find something that gives back much more than you put into it, then that's a great thing, right? If I had a black box and I could put in $1 and out came $10, I would grab as many dollars as I could to put them into the box, knowing that it gave me a return. When it comes to human psychology, when it comes to improving yourself and becoming a better person, there are things like this where a small amount of input can lead to a vast amount of output. And in one of the early videos, I talked a little bit about the value of fear journaling. And then I briefly alluded to the idea that at the end of the fear journaling, turning your mind towards gratitude. And I would have to say, of all of the things that I came across in my time studying the mind, gratitude would have to be the holy grail for return on investment in terms of emotional energy put in to abundance received that you get out of your emotional investment. And so the fear journaling process is amazing because it helps us articulate the things that give us concern and worry and anxiety. But the powerhouse of the return on that investment is to change that negative energy into something that has a positive valence. And one of the most highly positively valenced emotions that humans have is gratitude. Gratitude is a state of mind in which we give thanks for the things that we have. And it can be thanks for the beauty. It can be thanks for all the positive things in our life. And it can be simple. It can be looking at the sunshine or the weather or the birds chirping or the children playing and just being grateful that we live in a place and a time where these things are possible and available, and that many of us, if we choose, can spend time in nature, time in reflection, despite the busyness, despite the craziness of modern life. Really, serenity and calmness, tranquility, flow of nature is simply a single choice away. And I think the easiest way to choose this is to start looking for things in your life that make you feel grateful. And when you start this process, it's like a catalyst for all kinds of psychological, physiological, hormonal, perceptual changes that start taking place in how you see the world and how you interact with it. So there's a few things about gratitude. Physiologically, it's almost it's the exact opposite to scarcity or worry or anxiety or fear. So the cultivation of a grateful mindset is something that can turn negative emotions into profoundly positive ones. So I mentioned that, yes, we can use it to be grateful for all of the good things that we have in life. The material things or the relationships that we have. But even more powerful than being grateful for the good things is to recognize the amazing benefit we have from our struggles and being grateful for the hard times. If we can get here, if we can get emotionally to a place where we can be incredibly grateful for the difficulties that we face, then we effectively have unlocked a superpower. What we've unlocked is the ability to exist in just about any circumstance and still not succumb to the surface appearance of those circumstances. So if I'm in pain, if I'm struggling with something, if things seem sad for me, if I'm dealing with grief, if I'm afraid or anxious, and I can still turn myself to the acknowledgement of that situation and the recognition that my grief reflects that I have had the capacity for love. So that, yes, the feeling in the moment is one of perhaps very, very deep sadness. It's only possible because of my capacity for very, very deep love and attachment. That the struggles and difficulties that we have in our life are the things that propel us to great success and great clarity, to drive us towards the ambition of creating a better life for ourselves and for those around us, for our children and for future generations. It is out of struggle that courage and bravery and strength form. But it's not just struggle, it's the acknowledgement of struggle and the ability to be grateful for our struggles. There's a beautiful, very ancient old saying, I believe it's even biblical, that iron sharpens iron, or steel sharpens steel. That in order to become strong, we have to deal with difficult circumstances. And I mean, literally, it is true that in order to get a blade for a sword or an axe sharp, you need something strong and hard for it to grind against. You need it to be shaped and molded by intense heat and pressure. That is what makes iron strong. It's the force, it's the pressure, it's the heat that it is put under, which makes the metal strong and durable and able to support incredible weight and tension. And so this is not just an academic thing. Like I said, when I was working as a scientist studying the mind, I was looking for these kinds of boons, ways to improve my mind, improve my relationship with the world, improve my life. And while I came across many things like meditation, perhaps would be one of the most, meditation would have to be one of the most important practices one can cultivate in their life for a balanced worldview, for a balanced sense of self, for the ability to have patience and mental stability. And I think anyone who practices meditation seriously naturally develops sincere gratitude and appreciation for all of the situations they come to in life. Because without going too much into detail about what meditation is and how it works, and how, without going into too much detail about that, there is a misconception that meditation is somehow the ceasing of thoughts or calmness or quiet contemplation or serenity. But it certainly doesn't start that way. Meditation is a very difficult thing to do precisely because it's not any of those things. It's not calm. In fact, it's the facing of the inner mental turbulence. It is not serene because the mind is chaos. It's not easy because you're faced with all of your limitations, all of the psychological weight that you carry around with you. And if you meditate seriously, your body starts to hurt. You face all kinds of trauma. You face all kinds of deep psychological repression. All of this comes up to the surface and has to be faced. It has to be recognized. It has to be seen. And even more, it has to be seen for what it is and not turned into renewed suffering. So the pain and the difficulty of these things has to come up to the surface, and you have to be fully aware of them without retreating into old habit patterns and old difficulties and rolling in trauma. Instead, it's a great release. It's cathartic. It allows you to transcend those feelings. And by going through those difficult moments, seeing the stress of the mind and recognizing the trauma that is there, but choosing not to engage with it, one then comes to a place where the mind is quiet, where the soul is peaceful, where gratitude and abundance and stillness and thoughtfulness naturally arise. And so why am I saying this? As I said, yeah, I was always seeking to have practices or abilities. I was always seeking abilities that I could rely on to improve my life, to improve myself. And if I had to point to the single best return on investment for a life well lived, that the amount of emotional energy you put into gratitude comes back so much, many, many times. Because gratitude is the cultivation of an abundance mentality. It is the recognition that things are greater than yourself, and that things are not all about you. They're not all about me. They are as they are. And I can just be grateful for them, for the ability to be able to experience them, to be a part of them, to see them, and to have them in my life. And so some things that I'm personally grateful for is a voice, is for consciousness, for a family. I'm grateful for all of the people who have given me strength, who have given me their time and their patience, who have taught me throughout my life, those who have put up with me through tough times. While I'm very grateful and indebted to those kinds of people, of which there are many, you know, my parents, my great friends, my teachers, my advisors, I also am grateful for all the people who've done me wrong, all the people who have attacked me, all the people who have tried to silence me, tried to discredit me, tried to hurt me in any way. And of those, there are many too. I'm grateful because it showed me how to not do these things, which is not to say that I'm perfect. Like I know I've said and done things that are less than ideal. You know, I'm human, and so are they. And that's why I'm grateful for them, because I guess a mind of gratitude, when I'm feeling gratitude, what I can sense in another person, particularly somebody who tries to do you wrong or does you wrong without trying, is usually I sense in them their deepest humanity, that we are all just trying to figure this shit out. And sometimes that comes out in ways that are insensitive or defensive or outright offensive. But none of that diminishes the beauty and awe that I have for this universe, this life. And when I can be in a place of gratitude, which I feel like I am in more and more throughout my life, there's so many elements to gratitude that are humbling and that cut through the surface level of messy human behavior. We are messy, we are complex, we are in pain, we are suffering because of our present situation, our past situation, the inability to see a good future situation. And so we are all just taking messy action. We are all just trying to figure it out. We are trying to minimize our pain and maximize our pleasure. And sometimes that creates incredible amounts of friction between two individuals or more individuals, groups, tribes, that kind of thing. And so I don't hold any grudge against anybody. And I have nothing but overwhelming appreciation for all of my experiences, the good and the bad, because all of them together give me the ability to learn and change and grow. Ultimately, I feel that is my purpose here. I myself, as an individual, am here to grow and to learn and change and become something that has a positive influence on others. That's honestly, that's all I want. All I want is to be a positive influence on others. And that is effectively what I have dedicated my life towards. Now, as a result of that, if I can align my own personal, even what I might call selfish or ego impulses towards having myself fulfilled in a way that naturally fulfills others, then I think we've stumbled upon the holy grail of human endeavor, where whenever I satisfy my own personal desires, or rather, whenever I have a positive influence on others, my own personal desires are also simultaneously satisfied. I think that has to be the simplest articulation of a perfect way of existing. And many characters in our I guess religious mythologies, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, a lot of the characters in these mythologies have articulated some version of this. The golden rule in Christianity, articulated by Jesus Christ himself, is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And otherwise stated, don't do to other people what you don't want them to do to you. Buddha preached compassion and selfless service. And yet these were very fulfilled people, even to the point when, Jesus Christ was tortured to death. He still maintained within him a heart overflowing with grace and compassion and love. It's an unbelievable story. And then for some, maybe many of us, it is unbelievable in the literal sense. But I think the literal sense is less important than the metaphorical sense. Because we know that it is possible to cultivate a mind like that. It is possible to cultivate a mind of such great purity and love that if somebody came to attack you and tried to hurt you, that it would be impossible not to feel just compassion for that person, because it only reflects their own suffering. And when we encounter someone who is suffering, then we are compassionate to those people. And so if you have a pure individual, like the individual of Jesus or of Buddha, and somebody tries to attack a person like that, then a person like that must be so damaged or so in such depths of suffering that only then would they be willing or able or motivated to engage in behavior like that. And so they deserve deep, deep compassion. And I think it's possible to cultivate a mind like this. And I've felt in times where I am personally attacked, I can't help but feel sorrow. I can't help but feel compassion for the people, because they're lashing out in anger and difficulty. And it's a reflection of poorly concealed. It's a reflection of their own suffering, is what I'm trying to say, because I don't want to cast aspersions on what they're going through. Yeah. There are many very, very important emotions that we can practice cultivating. But I would have to say, if I could boil it down to one that gives incredible abundance to those who cultivate it properly, I would say gratitude. The return on investment for gratitude is true abundance. I think I'll leave it there for today.